Okay, I'll start from here. The first eraser is the one. It comes in small and large sizes, but we mostly use the small one. The large one is also good. In any case, the important thing is that its tip should be sharp. For now, just know that this is an eraser, and we use it to erase some lines. Well, these are also the eraser leads for a mechanical eraser and the mechanical eraser itself. Their function is that in some areas where we want to create light, we use this eraser to create it. Or, for example, when we want to create certain textures. This one is a white gel pen. I think the brand is Penson, but the label is worn off. What does it do? This white pen is used in spots where you want to create intense highlights, but you can't do it with the eraser or with the electric eraser. So you use this to create that highlight, like this. The brightness is like this. Of course, you need to know how to use it, because sometimes the light it creates looks very artificial. And since our work is hyper-real, we don't want anything artificial in it. So I'll explain how to use it properly. The brush eraser is used like this. In areas where the drawing gets smudged, we use this to remove the smudge. I'll show you on the drawing itself how it works. This is also one of the most important tools, the electric eraser. In my opinion, the best brand is T-Ho. It uses, yes, one or two batteries. Yeah, two batteries here. Its function is like this. For example, in places where we want to put intense light or highlights, we use this eraser. It has a button that, when pressed, makes the tip spin like this. It uses two types of eraser leads. One is thin, and the other is thick. We mostly use the thin one, because with a small tip eraser, we can create details much better. The thick one is harder for adding details. A size 40 flat brush is also used here. When you're drawing a portrait or anything else, you use it for shading the background. Because since it has a big head, shading with it is much easier. Imagine trying to shade a background with a small brush. It would get very patchy. But with this, it smudges much less. I really like this brush, because shading with it is easy, and it creates very clean shadows. I had soft Conte and hard Conte from Faber-Castell. Now, what's the difference between the two? The soft Conte has a softer core, which is mainly used for shading. How do we shade with it? Well, we rub it onto a piece of paper, which is called a paper palette. Then we dip the brush into that powder that's created and use it for shading. I'll show you later how to do shading with it. The hard Conte has a firmer core and is used for drawing eyelashes, eyebrows, and similar details. And make sure the Conte sticks you buy are from Faber-Castell, because they're better than any other brand, and the darkness they produce is much stronger than other Contes. Here's also a brush, a Pars Art brush, size 0, number 11. Most teachers usually recommend buying the full Pars Art set, and honestly, it's an amazing set of brushes, but it's very expensive. That's why I decided to just tell you to buy the size 01. Now I'll explain why. And instead of buying the whole set, 12-piece or however many of Pars Art, I suggested buying Maris brushes, because with Maris, you can get a 12-piece pack. With that price difference, you can actually buy 3 of these instead. But this brush isn't bad either. It has rough bristles. This one also has rough bristles. You can create really beautiful shading with it. Reading. I'll be teaching the entire course using this brush. It's the only essential brush you need to buy. Why size 0? Because in the 12-piece Maris brush set, the smallest size is bigger than this one. But sometimes we need a brush this small, for example, for shading inside the eyes. Now imagine using a size 1 brush instead. It works, but it's difficult. In my opinion, for some areas, the size of the work is so tiny that, say, shading the eyes requires a size 0 brush, which the Maris set doesn't have. But this brush is really good. So get the Pars Art size 0, number 11 brush, and the 12-piece Maris set. I hadn't introduced this yet. This eraser, the kneaded eraser. A kneaded eraser is used in areas where we want to soften the sketch lines we've drawn. It's also used for creating textures, and in many cases, for creating highlights. Over time, I'll show you how to use it, but for now, I'm just introducing it. This is also one of the essential tools for charcoal drawing that you must have. Now, what else do we have? The Cretacolor charcoal, code 4702, which produces very deep blacks. We use this charcoal for creating some of the shadows. For example, when drawing hair, the shading is done with this charcoal, because shading with Conte isn't possible for hair. I'll explain later why we can't use Conte for shading hair. This is one of the important tools for charcoal drawing as well. Make sure you always buy Cretacolor, because its blackness is unmatched by others. But definitely try to buy it in block form and grind it into powder yourself. It's much better than buying pre-made Cretacolor charcoal powder, because that powder isn't as dark. I'm not sure if it's mixed with something else, or if it lacks purity. But anyway, buy it in block form. And now, about the drawing paper we use. Guys, always make sure the paper you buy is original. I'll explain later which brands are fake. We use two kinds, Steinbach and Fabriano. Steinbach has a slightly darker tone with a bit of yellowish tint, while Fabriano is pure white. Fabriano is 220 grams per square meter, and Steinbach is 150 grams per square meter. The paper you buy should always have the brand name printed in the corner. If it doesn't, there's a high chance it's fake. Another way to spot fake paper is that when you rub your hand on the back of it, the fake one shows the texture of your hand, but the genuine one doesn't because it's thicker. That's it. Those are the papers.